Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Hearthstone. So we've got a lot of news and not too much quests to do. This is generally, since we got a challenger friend for 80 gold, that's a really easy quest to accomplish. So it's generally something I wouldn't even record, and I could have definitely chosen to wait one more day and played Hearthstone tomorrow with 3 quests, but I chose not to. So now all I need to do is play 50 Warlock cards, which is our demon deck, and then we're done. And so I need to kind of speed up. Side note, I was able to wrangle a gaming chair, desk chair type thing for $100, which is incredibly cheap when buying chairs. For example, steel case chairs, which I've heard are very good, are about $1,000 to $500, $500 to $1,000 each, and DX Racer chairs, which I've heard aren't really that good. Just they do a lot of advertising. So they seem like they're really popular, and that's why a lot of people use them, is all those streamers are either tricked into buying them or they were given them by DX Racer. Those typically $300 to $800 on a DX Racer chair. So spending $100 is a dangerous gamble, certainly. The chair I found on Amazon.com looks very much like a DX Racer chair. It looks like a race car chair. Let's go ahead and greet.
I greet you.
I can ease your pain.
And it's rated for a higher weight, so hopefully that will mean it won't fall apart. Although it may very well just be that that's made up. At the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if this chair does fall apart, but as long as I have the cushion, the arms, the thing. What I've seen in previous office chairs break are the wheels. Very often you'll have the 8 wheels break. If you roll around a lot, they'll just come out of their things. The legs sometimes get a little bit loose. Little plastic bits on the underside seem to break. The shock absorber that you use to move the chair up and down has a very high occurrence of chairs broken. I worked in an office where all the chairs were practically broken from day one, and they, well, let's say about half of them were broken from day one, and then the ones that weren't broken quickly would break too. So I have more than probably a fair share of experience with broken chairs. But what doesn't usually break too much is the arms won't break unless somebody's sitting on them. Wow, he took 10 mana to get rid of all his cards, which people in that office actually were sitting on them. Frankly, people didn't care. And frankly, that was the right attitude, is not to care about that job. Moving away from that job, though. So yeah, if people sit on the arms, they break. If you're just resting your arms on it, you've got to be pretty morbidly obese to have your arms so heavy that you would actually, that would actually be an issue. But let's go ahead and try this. And then we'll go ahead and destroy this. The other thing is, if you're heavily leaning or lifting yourself out of a chair or up in a chair by pressing on arms, you can break those arms. Certainly. If there's adjusters on the height of the arms, that's another thing that breaks. The back, if you heavily are leaning backwards and pressing on the arms to lean backwards, you can break a chair that way. But in general, if you don't really misuse a chair, you're swap it with a minion in your deck. I don't want to do that.
Who dares summon me?
I think I'm playing ranked right now. Yeah, I am. Ooh, good. Let's see if we can win. But if the bottom part of my chair breaks, my new chair breaks, I kind of have this backup plan where I'm gonna go get a bunch of plumbing pipes and have them cut to the right height that I want, and I'm just gonna like build out of hardware, not even wood, like metal, steel, heavy iron stuff, just a really strong base. If I wanted to get a little bit more ambitious with it, I might even go get like or order motorcycle shocks, which would be kind of crazy, or springs from a car, like one giant spring shock absorbing spring from a car, and just have that as what the top part of a chair sets on. Just whatever. Hopefully it doesn't break. Hopefully it works perfectly, and hopefully it's 100 times better than what I'm sitting in now, because what I'm sitting in now is this really low to the ground, oddly designed reclining rocker chair that I bought from a coworker for like $30 or something. Maybe I spent $50 because I was getting paid too much back then. But it's not worth $50 as a chair. It's not worth $20 as a chair. It's mostly framed out of cardboard. It has no cushioning. Now I'm sitting on like 3 layers of extra cushioning on top of it.
Why do you fall?
Let's see, Jabs is spectating me again. He's got to watch and learn. This time I can actually win. He spectated me while I was playing my secondary account, and I always let my secondary account win, so he probably didn't succeed in his goal. So that was an odd turn of events. Just the way it worked out. But hopefully I win here. So yeah, I'm sitting on like 5 cushions, and all the cushions just fall flat because there's no real support under it. It just sinks deeper and deeper into the chair itself. And I'd probably be better sitting on the floor with 5 cushions than having 5 cushions on top of it. And that's certainly been causing me a lot of pain lately and hurting my ability to just stay focused and play games. Speaking of staying focused and covering games, though, I need to move ahead because like we're gonna run out of time. Outlast 2 has been refused classification in Australia. It's been a little while since Australia refused classification. Outlast 2 is an odd choice, but not really. Titanfall 2 free DLCs will be coming soon. This is part of my not news segment here. Again, we're bringing back the not news segment. News about Titanfall 2's DLC will be coming soon is not news. It just isn't. That's not how these things work. Darn it. Well, do I want to kill this guy? No. I'll draw a card. they got me good on that one. Also on the not news segment, Shenmue 3's development report shows QuickTime events. This one is specifically almost news, but not really, because it's a development report. Anything could change throughout the process of development. So it's silly to make an assumption here. Also, I guess I could put this in the not news, although this is mostly political news. The proposed presidential budget could slightly hurt the video game grants through the National Endowment for the Arts. But it's worth looking here that only 34 grants since 1998 have been video game related, even slightly. I mean, and these are going to be grants that are probably worth more money than you realize. So, like, maybe one of these grants could be $1 million to every college that gets them to make a video game developing program. But it's but at the end of the day, that's not really what it's not really that much money, honestly. If you get $1 million, I happen to have a little bit of knowledge about how the heads of departments in colleges, their jobs are practically to always get grants, and they would get grants for millions of dollars all the time. If it's a good, thriving department that could do that. So, I mean, they really are just trying to be more political than realistic. Does that mean I personally want to see the National Endowment for the Arts cut? No. It's probably still just a drop in the bucket compared to what we spend on, or what they want to spend, or on average spend on military things. Let's see.
Total corruption, total power.
Let's see. He can do 12 plus another 4, that's 16. So he's gonna beat me, sadly. Mass Effect Andromeda's animations and performance look bad. They were only targeting 30 frames per second, and frankly it doesn't look... Most people are saying it's not that fun anyways. So Mass Effect Andromeda is the first big game probably for 2017 that is running into... that is kind of a disappointment. Everything else has been a pretty great success, at least from what I can remember right now. Maybe I just have a short memory, and I do, definitely. Like Nier Automata, despite its PC version bugs that they're gonna probably patch, isn't a bad looking game or a bad running game or anything like that. Now the weird thing about Mass Effect Andromeda is they went from the Unreal Engine to the Frostbite engine, and I kind of wonder if that's the issue, or if it would have been even worse under Unreal, because it just doesn't seem like the Frostbite engine can handle animations, at least from this example, or handle 60 frames per second. And see, since I would classify Mass Effect as a first-person shooter RPG, with a heavy on the conversations and things like The Witcher, there's major problems in both of those. Like, it's not fun to look at weird, choppy animations when you're doing the conversations, and it's not fun to do first-person shooting at a locked 30 frames per second. That it doesn't even make 30 frames per second. I thought I got rid of these. My Hearthstone deck tracker app must have not locked that in.
Job's done.
Because I had turned these off finally. I finally found them things. Moving on, the PS3 production is ending soon in Japan. I don't know if it's already been ended everywhere else. I would assume that's the case. It's been 11 years since the PS3 came out, so it's been a long run.
You're in trouble now.
But all good things must end, and that kind of is a slight problem for PlayStation 3 in particular, because the PlayStation 4 is not backward compatible. If you told me Xbox 360 games consoles are ending, I'd be like, well, whatever. Everything is somewhat backwards compatible, or at least slightly more backwards compatible. But no, Windows 10. The article I saw said turns off support for, but it's actually, as I understand it, I'm gonna guess here, Windows just doesn't support in Windows 7 or 8.1 for the new processors. So Ryzen processors, Intel Kaby Lake processors, the AMD Ryzen processors, aren't gonna get patches. I imagine they still will run. It's just they may not use all the features, and frankly, just go to Windows 10. Now there is a good question: is why are they pushing the gaming end users so hard when I can guarantee you that most of the let's see. After you cast a spell, we don't need that. Most businesses are probably still running XP or older. Like, I don't even think they got to 7, let alone 8.1, let alone Windows 10. Inherently, that's the issue. Is for every one user you're going to trick or force into Windows 10, how many hundreds of workstations are still running an image of Windows XP? I would hope that they aren't less than XP, but they probably are. In fact, I know there are. I worked in a job where they were still running DOS, and that was only a couple years ago, and they're still probably running DOS now. So yeah, they're really not doing anything to push those people forward, other than ending support, and companies don't really care enough. So, next story, Zynga spent $42.5 million on 4 solitaire apps and iOS solitaire apps. Like, to me, that seems pretty dumb. $42 million for 4 solitaire apps. Either that means on iOS that people are so built into the Apple idea and they're so willing to spend money that those 4 apps are making more than $42 million, or my thought is it's either a huge waste or some weird kind of money laundering thing going on. That's what I always suspect. Anytime I see somebody doing something weird with money, I think, is this just money laundering? Are they just bribing the government that made this company? Is this company just a shill for some government agency? Destroy a demon. Well, can't do that. Blizzard is seeking $8.5 million in a lawsuit against BuddyBot's maker, who allegedly, I'll say here, enabled cheating in Overwatch and Hearthstone and others. So if you're cheating in those games with BuddyBot's maker, I would recommend not do that. BlizzCon is coming up, and there's a possibility that a StarCraft or StarCraft 2 remaster might come out. That would be nice. It'd be a good excuse to go play the single player thing on my channel. Not that I really have time for any of this, but whenever you summon a minion, deal 5 to your hero. Well, let's not play that.
Time is money, friend.
Capcom is remastering 6 classic Disney games. There's a real danger of that sucking, though, unfortunately. A, because it's Capcom, and B, because they're classic Disney games, and frankly, those NES Disney games, one of them of which is DuckTales, which is odd because they remade DuckTales, so that they're reselling you DuckTales again, actually. But these games are games we would like out there and we'd like to play, but it's really just for nostalgia purposes and nothing else. You can't really expect any kids these days to even care about DuckTales or Chippendale Rescue Rangers or anything like that. So this one is really for the old fans. I found out there was a Disney Junior channel now on YouTube, and they apparently have full episodes of some shows, if not lots of things. I don't know. I imagine people with kids would have known that already. I was trying to see what the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse song was, because I knew I'd seen it once before and thought it was kind of bad. And then I listened to it again, and yeah, it's kind of bad.
Careful, they bite.
Let's see.
Job's done.
Let's see, moving on, since we're gonna probably just run out of things. There's an article saying this new expansion might be the last chance for Hearthstone. I don't know how, though, that really happens. I don't know what people move to, and that's inherently the thing. Is we need to see where all the Hearthstone players are going to get frustrated at one time and move. It's kind of the Facebook issue. Everybody hates Facebook, and now kind of everybody hates Hearthstone, but unless you've got something better to offer, you can't get rid of it.
I wonder.
And Ferraria, which I guess I beat some people on my coverage of that, so maybe that video will grow in popularity over time and get more views. Ferraria doesn't look like it, and I don't know what else it would be. Interesting. He devolved me.
Truth is my shield.
That's an interesting turn of events. I'd like to win here and be done, but for this guy's sake. But I'm not sure it's gonna happen. Battle cry, discard a random card. Is it worth it to deal 5 damage to my hero?
Suck steel, sword.
This one. No, that one.
There we go. Ghost Recon Wildlands topped the Japan sales charts for a week, I would guess, and probably no more. Turns out there wasn't really anything else that came out there. That was a real head scratcher, because I was thinking to myself, maybe when translated to Japanese, the Ghost Recon Wildlands sounds really cool, or maybe there's some reason why they would be interested in playing as a narco agent in Colombia. But yeah, more and more as I looked into it, it's literally there's just no other options available except for yet another re-release of Kingdom Hearts. So I guess that's how you get a good sales week, is make sure you schedule the release on the right day. According to Google, end screens are better than annotations, which I'm kind of happy, because that's what I suggested, and I'm happy with them. Annotations are going away, like they've been saying, so they gave out some numbers saying people close a lot of annotations, like 12 times as more than end screens. I don't think you can close an end screen though, so that probably isn't really what it said. 12 times as many times. It may say on average people close annotations 12 times. Jabs is leaving because he knows I'm gonna lose again. Poor Jabs. He's just gotta watch and learn. And we might as well do this.
From the void I come.
So yeah, end screen's good. They're there. The Division has a new premium vendor for microtransactions. I mean, they are trying to milk as much money out of the Division as possible, considering they pretty much know it's already a failure. Some people eBayed the Switch by cutting a Triforce out of the center of it, and sold it for twice what it would have cost if it was actually still a working Switch. Okay. I also saw a video that stated, I guess we'll just go long here. Or I could cancel right now and we could just end this thing. Somebody did the speed test between installing an SSD and running off the cartridge and running off the internal memory of the Switch, and it's very definitely faster to install to the internal memory. However, to actually do that, you have to not have an SSD in your a micro SD card in your Switch. So you need to power off your device, remove your micro SD card now, turn on your device without the SD, install the game from the cartridge to the internal memory, and then you power off your device and put on your micro SD if you want it back in there. But inherently, I think what you probably need is just to have the micro SD never in the Switch at all, but then you won't have any space. I'm not sure you can actually I'm not sure you can actually switch from internal storage to the micro SD. So if you wanted to back up your games, and have them installed from the cartridges, just in case somehow the cartridges are gone. There's no way to do that. Well, I'm not going to go back in there. So yeah, that's an issue. Kerbal Space Program is coming out with DLC. It's not really fixing the problems with the game, though, from what I can figure. And I don't think they ever are going to. And then today happens to be St. Patrick's Day. And I'm trying to think, and so let me know in the comments if you have any ideas for games you could play on Mother's Day, Father's Day, Women's Day, or St. Patrick's Day, or any other holiday where it really might make some sense. But because I'm always struggling to find connections. And if I can find them. The Women's Day and Mother's Day is a weird one too. I think Women's Day actually works better than Mother's Day because I can play Tomb Raider on Women's Day, or start playing Tomb Raider on Women's Day, whereas I really don't have a great argument to say Mother's Day for Rise of the Tomb Raider unless the story ends up having a mother in it. Actually, the reboot of Tomb Raider did kind of have spiritual mother in it, but I mean that's a bit of a stretch. And then Father's Day is even harder because there's very few stories that are going to center around having being a father too much. Frankly, all these games are more focused towards kids, and they just don't want to hear that. And then St. Patrick's Day is probably insane. I could probably play a game with snakes in it. And since St. Patrick, I believe, was the saint that allegedly drove all the snakes out of Ireland. So, anyways, that's all my news things. And even though we ended up with rather easy things, I'm still going to play this off screen. And I think that'll work fine. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.